We have got to get to what seems like the week's biggest celebrity story. What seems like a sudden breakup between Keith Urban and Nicole Kidman, married for 19 years. Now, I got to get your thoughts on this breaking news out of Hello Magazine Canada edition. According to reports, Nicole and Keith had a prenup that included a quote unquote cocaine clause. So Nicole, according to this report, would pay Keith $600,000 for every year he stayed off the blow.
Nicole Kidman has lived most of her life under the bright lights of Hollywood. She has endured the highest peaks of fame, the deepest valleys of heartbreak, and everything in between. But nothing could have prepared her for the devastating moment when a private video of Keith Urban surfaced online, shattering not only their marriage, but also the carefully guarded image of trust and loyalty she had defended for nearly 2 decades. At 58 years old, Nicole found herself in tears, blindsided by betrayal from the man she believed would stand by her forever. The leaked video changed everything.
This was an open secret. Keith was seeing somebody, was with somebody. We do not have a name yet. We have some rumors about who we've
got a potential offender out there.
For years, the world saw Nicole and Keith as the picture of a lasting Hollywood love story. She was the Oscar-winning actress whose elegance and grace inspired millions, and he was the charming country music star with platinum records and a seemingly devoted heart. Together, they looked like the rare couple who could weather the storms of fame, but behind the scenes, cracks had already begun to form. Busy careers, constant travel, and long separations created distance that love alone couldn't always bridge. Nicole worked tirelessly to hold the family together, but what she never expected was betrayal caught on camera.
They had a really, really messy start within months of their marriage. He was in rehab, they've admitted this, so they were married a few months, and he went to the Betty Ford clinic and disappeared for a couple of months. So they've had a really rough relationship, and that's why I'm curious about the cocaine clause in the contract. Nicole knew very, very early on that Keith had demons.
The video, once leaked, spread quickly through social media and entertainment outlets. Though blurred and grainy, it was clear enough to leave no room for doubt. Keith Urban was seen behaving in ways that made the headlines write themselves. For Nicole, watching even a few seconds was like being struck in the chest. This wasn't just a rumor or a headline twisted by tabloids. This was undeniable proof displayed for the world to dissect. The woman who had built her life on loyalty now had to confront the reality that loyalty wasn't returned. Her tears were not just from sadness, but from years of trust collapsing in a single instant. Fans who had once celebrated Keith's romantic songs and tributes to Nicole were stunned. The same man who once stood outside her door at dawn with flowers professing eternal love was now caught in an act that betrayed everything he had promised. The hypocrisy was impossible to ignore. How many times had he sung about devotion? How many interviews had he spoken of Nicole as his forever? To see those words unravel so cruelly left Nicole's supporters furious at Keith. It was no longer about gossip. It was about a husband choosing lies over truth. Nicole Kidman is not new to heartbreak. Her first marriage to Tom Cruise had already taught her how brutal the public eye could be. But this was different. With Keith, she believed she had found redemption, a partner who understood her, who had weathered storms alongside her. She stood by him through rehab, through career slumps, through the relentless pressure of Hollywood and Nashville. She gave him unwavering loyalty even when it was hard, and in return, he handed her humiliation in front of the world. The image of Nicole wiping away tears, holding her daughters close as the story spread, painted a tragic picture of betrayal at its worst. The timing made it even more painful. Nicole had spoken openly in recent years about choosing family over fame, about valuing her home life above the red carpets. She built her schedule around her children, Sunday and Faith, determined to give them stability. Meanwhile, Keith's life remained on the road, from concerts to award shows to parties that Nicole often avoided. The leaked video didn't just expose cheating, it exposed the double life Keith had been living, one where family took second place to reckless choices. For fans, the betrayal felt personal. People remembered the glowing anniversary posts, the award show kisses, the magazine covers promising forever love. Now, every old photo looked staged, every affectionate word rehearsed. The man who had convinced millions he was a devoted husband was suddenly revealed as someone very different. Social media exploded with outrage, and the once beloved country star was dragged into the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. His songs about love and loyalty were mocked, his image as a family man demolished in a matter of hours. Nicole's tears, though heartbreaking, also became a symbol of strength. She refused to hide away even as the media circus swirled. Friends close to her revealed that she was devastated, yes, but also determined. Nicole has always carried herself with dignity, and this was no exception. She chose not to lash out in public, instead focusing on her daughters and their well-being. But those who know her best say that the pain was unbearable and that her crying behind closed doors was not just grief, it was fury. Fury at being made a fool of. Fury at the years wasted, and fury at Keith for turning their love story into a cautionary tale. The ripple effects stretched far beyond their household. Hollywood insiders whispered that Nicole had been warned by friends that Keith's behavior on tour wasn't always faithful. Yet she chose to believe in him, to defend him, to trust that love could conquer doubt, that trust now looked misplaced, and those whispers now looked like warnings unheeded. The leaked video silenced any defense Keith might have made. He could no longer hide behind excuses or denials. The evidence was there, raw and undeniable. For Keith Urban, the fallout was immediate. Concert tickets were returned, sponsors questioned their partnerships, and even loyal fans felt betrayed. Country music prides itself on authenticity, on truth-telling through song. And here was one of its brightest stars caught in a lie that no melody could cover. His silence in the aftermath spoke volumes. Every day that passed without accountability only made the betrayal sting deeper. Instead of protecting his family, Keith had destroyed the foundation beneath them. Nicole, on the other hand, began to rise. Yes, she cried. Yes, she hurt, but pain has always been part of her story, and survival has always been her answer. As she moved forward, her focus shifted entirely to her daughters. Sources close to her said she vowed to protect them from the humiliation Keith's choices had caused. She poured herself into work, carefully selecting roles that reflected resilience, independence, and transformation. Once again, she turned heartbreak into art, showing the world that even in her tears, she was unstoppable. Fans rallied around her, flooding social media with support. Messages like, "We stand with Nicole and she deserves so much better," trended worldwide. Women especially connected with her pain, seeing in her tears their own stories of betrayal. Nicole became not just an actress grieving a broken marriage, but a symbol of every woman who has ever given everything to a man only to be repaid with dishonesty. Her strength in facing the betrayal head-on inspired millions to demand more for themselves. Meanwhile, Keith Urban's reputation sank lower. What once looked like a fairy tale now looked like manipulation. People questioned if he had ever been truly honest, or if his entire image had been carefully crafted to mask darker truths. His songs once celebrated love, now they sounded like lies. Every lyric dedicated to Nicole became a cruel reminder of promises broken. His silence, his absence, and his refusal to explain only deepened the anger directed at him. Nicole's crying, painful as it was, also marked the beginning of her healing. She realized that love alone cannot fix betrayal, and that protecting her children and her own peace of mind mattered more than clinging to a shattered marriage. At 58, she chose to reclaim her voice, her independence, and her dignity. No longer was she the woman standing by Keith in rehab or the wife defending him in interviews. She was now a woman who saw the truth, shed her tears, and decided to walk into a new chapter stronger than before. The leaked video was Keith Urban's undoing, but it was also Nicole Kidman's awakening. She may have cried, but she refused to be broken. Fans now look to her as proof that even the deepest betrayal cannot silence resilience. Keith may have destroyed their marriage, but Nicole turned the ashes into a fire of her own. And in the end, history will not remember her as the woman who was betrayed. It will remember her as the woman who rose even while crying and proved that her worth was never tied to him. As the dust settled after the leaked video, one thing became clear. Keith Urban's betrayal was not just a private mistake, it was a public implosion. Hollywood thrives on scandal, and soon the whispers turned into headlines, and the headlines became endless debates on talk shows and podcasts. The narrative shifted overnight. No longer was Keith the devoted husband writing love songs for his wife. He was now the unfaithful partner whose lies had caught up to him, whose actions had left Nicole Kidman crying in front of the world. The scandal spread beyond entertainment outlets. Keith's name was trending for all the wrong reasons, and commentators pointed out the irony of a man who had built a career on heartfelt lyrics about loyalty and love. Radio stations quietly dropped his songs from heavy rotation, not wanting the backlash that came with associating with him. What once sounded romantic now felt hollow, and fans found themselves unable to listen without hearing the hypocrisy. His brand, carefully cultivated over decades, was crumbling piece by piece. Behind the scenes, industry insiders whispered that Keith's career may never recover. Country music, with its roots in honesty and storytelling, does not easily forgive betrayal. While some scandals fade, this one was different because it came with video proof. There was no spin, no denial strong enough to erase the images the world had already seen. In an age where reputation is currency, Keith had gone bankrupt. Nicole, meanwhile, was quietly but powerfully rewriting her story. Instead of hiding, she leaned into her pain and turned it into a message of empowerment. Friends close to her revealed that she was considering producing films centered on women's resilience, stories that reflected her own journey. Offers began pouring in, not only for acting roles, but also for opportunities to direct and produce, giving her creative control in a way she hadn't pursued before. The betrayal, though heartbreaking, had lit a fire within her to tell stories that mattered, stories that would outlast the scandal. Her daughter's Sunday in faith became her anchor. Nicole was determined that they would not grow up defined by their father's choices. She wanted them to see that even in the face of betrayal, dignity and strength were possible. In interviews, Nicole's words carried a new weight. She spoke of prioritizing honesty, of teaching her daughters that self-worth is never tied to someone else's mistakes. Fans noticed the shift in her tone, still graceful, still elegant, but sharper, stronger, and unwilling to pretend everything was fine. For Keith, the silence became deafening. Where Nicole faced the storm head-on, he ducked away from it. Weeks passed without a meaningful statement, and when he finally did release a carefully worded apology, it felt scripted and insincere. Fans weren't convinced. The damage was done, and the apology only highlighted how much had been lost. Instead of repairing his image, it made him look like a man trying to save his career, not his family. Nicole's tears had once symbolized heartbreak, but now they symbolized transformation. Each public appearance showed her more radiant, more determined. Red carpet photos captured her with her head held high, often without Keith by her side, and those images became powerful symbols of independence. The betrayal had hurt her deeply, but it had also freed her from defending a man who no longer deserved her loyalty, freed her from carrying the weight of a marriage that had turned into a performance. Hollywood insiders now whispered about Nicole's next chapter with excitement rather than pity. Some predicted that this turning point would lead to the most impactful roles of her career as she poured her truth into her work. Others believed she would use her influence to mentor younger women in the industry, warning them about the dangers of giving too much of themselves to men who don't deserve it. Either way, the future looked bright for her and bleak for Keith. The contrast could not have been sharper. While Keith's reputation disintegrated under the weight of scandal, Nicole Kidman was redefining herself in real time. Her tears were real, her heartbreak undeniable, but instead of breaking her, the betrayal became her breakthrough. Keith Urban may have cheated, but Nicole Kidman refused to be defined by his actions. She turned humiliation into empowerment. And in doing so, she reminded the world why she has always been more than a movie star. She is a survivor, an icon, and now an even stronger woman who refuses to be silenced.